Hey fight fans, welcome back to the Fight Book. This is the Indian accent guy, and UFC 316 really exceeded all the expectations. Merab beat it and finished the better version of Sean O'Malley in the main event, and right after the win, he called out Cory Sandhagen. Dvalishvili had stated during the lead up to this fight that he wants to have 2 more fights after this. He now have his next contender in Cory Sandhagen, and he wants to fight him at UFC 320 in October. Merab clearly stated that Cory Sandhagen is next in line for a shot at the belt. Dana White loves that Merab wants to stay active and that he keeps improving along the way. White also agrees with Cory Sandhagen being the next contender for Merab Dvalishvili, but he also wants to see the Umar vs Merab rematch after the Cory Sandhagen fight. When Merab heard the remarks of the boss, he says he doesn't have any problem. Whoever the UFC thinks is the most deserving, he is fighting next. He just have only one demand, that no bullshit fighter should disrespect him. Anyway, Sean O'Malley also reacted on his loss and says he is not done despite back-to-back defeats to Merab Dvalishvili. He says he didn't feel like it was going to go like that, but Merab is an MFer. Dana White also talked about O'Malley in the post-event conference and says that O'Malley will take some time off and then we will discuss to him about his future when he is ready. On the possibility of O'Malley's move up to the featherweight division, Aljamain Sterling calls him out after his loss to Merab. He says he would love to show O'Malley what a healthy version of himself would do to him. Merab also agrees with his friend Aljamain and says that Aljamain Sterling is 2 times better than Sean O'Malley, and that's the proof that not always the best fighter wins. If we talk about the co-headliner, Kayla Harrison submits Juliana Pena in the second round to win the women's bantamweight belt. Then right after her title win, Amanda Nunez come inside the octagon and they had an octagon face-off. White says that Harrison vs Nunez felt big, even bigger than Nunez vs Cyborg fight, and that Nunez entering the cage was organic. White says that he had to tell security to let her into the cage because there were no plans to do it. White also says that Amanda Nunez is not currently in the testing pool yet, so do not expect this big fight in a near future. For the first time ever since I started watching UFC, I wouldn't mind a female headliner. Anyway, in the undercard fights, Kevin Holland beat number 14 ranked Vicente Luque and once again cracked the welterweight rankings. It was his second straight win where he got the performance bonus by submitting Luque. Holland says now he wants to stay at 170 and calls out Colby Covington. He says he wants no part of 5-round fights or the undefeated young welterweights like Michael Morales. It was his 3rd UFC fight in 2025 and he has planned to fight at least 5 or 6 times in this year. In the bantamweight bout, number 10 ranked Mario Batista spoiled the anticipated debut of Patchy Mix. He beat former Bellator champion via unanimous decision, just like Jair did with Patricio Pitbull last month. Anyway, Dana White also talked about Patchy Mix's loss and says when fighters come from smaller shows and go to the UFC, some shine and some have a rough time, and it's not easy. Moreover, in the middleweight bout, Joe Pyfer tested Kelvin Gastelum's chin and beat him via unanimous decision. Then in the light heavyweight bout, number 12 ranked light heavyweight 14-0 undefeated Azamat Murzakanov beat Branson Ribeiro in the very first round to move to 15-0 overall and 5-0 in the UFC. Then in the flyweight bout, number 14 ranked Joshua Van beat number 12 ranked Bruno Silva in a step-up fight and finished him in the 3rd round. It was Van's 5th fight in less than 12 months and now he holds the record for the longest active win streak in flyweight division with 4 straight wins. In this post-fight interview, Van respectfully calls out Brandon Moreno for Noche UFC in San Antonio. Anyway, in the ranked heavyweight bout, number 11 ranked Waldo Cortes Acosta, despite being the underdog, beat number 7 ranked Sergey Spivak via unanimous decision. Just like Murzakanov, he also extended his UFC win streak to 5, the longest active win streak in the heavyweight division. Lastly, Wang Kong cracked the women flyweight ranking by beating number 14 ranked Ariane Da Silva via unanimous decision. It was Wang's 2nd straight win and she called out number 9 ranked Jessica Andrade next. Other than these fights' result, there was some more announcements during the UFC 316 show. UFC is returning to Canada on October 18th with UFC Vancouver in Rogers Arena in British Columbia. Then UFC 320, which was previously supposed to be in Mexico, Guadalajara, that was cancelled because the arena was not completed. Now UFC 320 will take place on October 4th in T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, which means there is no PPV in the whole month of September. There is a big gap of 49 days between UFC 319 and UFC 320. Believe the last time the UFC did not have a pay-per-view in September was 2005. Moreover, they removed Manelkov versus Brandon Royval from UFC 317 main card to the UFC 317 prelims. Replacement of this is the heavyweight fight of Justin Tapa. And then the last announcement during the UFC 316 show was the last induction into UFC Hall of Fame this year. It is Mark Kerr who is the last induction into the UFC Hall of Fame this year. Anyway, we all know when Dana White gave interview to the media do not only ask the questions related to the event. Yes, they also ask Dana White about Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall situation, and Dana White says that he still believes Jon Jones will fight Tom Aspinall and says that Jones had already accepted an offer to fight Aspinall, but nothing has been signed. He says that all of the rumors around Jon and what is said online doesn't matter to him. When he was told that Jones has said that he is ready to vacate the belt and will not fight Tom Aspinall, Dana says that he did not know that as he had been too busy to keep up with the gossip surrounding Jon Jones. He says that Jones is back home from Thailand and on Tuesday they will figure it out. White says that he wants Jon Jones to fight Tom Aspinall, but the things do not always go the way that they have it planned. He also reminded the media that he did not want Khabib to retire, but he could not do anything when Khabib retired. White says that every human on earth was messaging him the petition to strip Jon Jones of the title. Dana White described the petition to strip Jon Jones of the heavyweight title as effing silly. As PFL founder Don Davis recently proposed a winner-takes-all super fight between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, so media also asked this question to Dana White, and White responds that the UFC doesn't have Francis Ngannou under contract and that Aspinall is the guy who will fight Jon Jones if Jones will ever fight. He says he's not really interested in trying to bring back Ngannou. Then he was also asked about the super fight between Zhang and Valentina Shevchenko, and Dana White says sure. Dana White also confirms that he will now again be promoting Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford later this year. When the date of Alvarez versus Crawford changed and clashed with No-Show UFC pay-per-view, Dana White had decided that he will promote No-Show UFC, but as now there is no No-Show UFC pay-per-view, so now Dana White is again in to promote Canelo versus Crawford. White also says that he is in his own little world and doesn't pay attention to the boxing news. He says everything is fine when it comes to his involvement. He says he will let us know soon that where this fight is taking place, and he also says that he has no interest in promoting kickboxing or Muay Thai in the future. And then lastly, Dana White says they are deep into rights negotiation for the next US TV deal and that it could be announced this month or as late as September. And that's all in this video, but not all in the fight world, because there were some massive boxing events last night, but that we are going to discuss in the next video. So till then, do whatever you want.
Alright fellas, we're back home. Appreciate you guys. Sorry we didn't get the job done. We'll be back. Love you guys.